MLB The Show franchise mode has finally returned to the channel. In fairness, it hasn't been all that long. Last year, of course, we ran series with the Blue Jays and with the Cincinnati Reds. And about a month or so ago, it has actually been that long, I ran a poll to allow you guys to decide what our first series of MLB The Show 19 would be. And as a result, we're taking over the Seattle Mariners in a straightforward run. So no draft to glory, no Nations United or anything like that. Just a straightforward run, trying to turn the Mariners into something more than what they've been, which isn't all that difficult. Now, despite being a Red Sox fan, I do have a soft spot for the Mariners. I think I'd call them my second team, or at least I would have at one point. As, you know, you kind of do with other teams you have an affinity for if you don't grow up rooting for the team that you're kind of supposed to, based off of where you live, like I did with the Red Sox. But like Richie Sexson, Ichiro, how could you not like the Seattle Mariners? And again, we will be taking over them in this series. Now, unfortunately, and I've talked about this before, quite a bit in fact, I'm not a big fan of this year's game by any stretch of the imagination. I think the gameplay is in a terrible spot. Technically, the game, I'm experiencing frame drops relatively frequently. I just don't feel as though the game is in that good of a spot. And then you factor in a franchise mode, which has always been my home base. They made no changes this year. It's the same damn thing. I refuse to give them credit for changing the salary structure or whatever. Unfortunately, it is the same damn mode that it was last year. Now, sure, the mode itself is fun, but more could have been done. I'm hoping that this series is what reignites some of the, I guess we'll say, passion I have for this game and, you know, having fun with MLB The Show 19, because it's been on a sharp, steep decline since launch. That said, as far as settings are concerned, contracts, we're going to turn that off because I don't plan on going anywhere. We're going to be with the Mariners. No fantasy draft, of course. No legends. CPU roster control, of course, will be off. Computer trading's on. Ignore budgets will be off. Force trade off. And DH will be automatic. As far as all of this, we'll set it to manual for now and readjust once we're there. And I think I'm going to start at the beginning of the regular season. Now, we are using the OSFM rosters that were released. Of course, that was the initial weight as to why I didn't start this when the game first came out. Wanted to make sure that we had those rosters. But the big question for me coming into this series was what exactly I wanted to do. How quickly did I want to start making my own spin on this team? And we are going to hold off for the majority of this first season, if not longer. I am kind of intrigued to see just how good this team does, but if I have free reign right now, for example, to just start moving players, I mean, the first thing I do is throw guys like Justin Dunn, maybe even a Justice Sheffield. I mean, sure, he's got 5 years of development, but he's got a long way to go, 14 overall points until I'd even want to use him as a long reliever. The first thing I do is throw Dunn and Justice Sheffield into the trade finder, and that's it. You know, we just sit there and offload players that we know aren't going to be all that valuable to us, and we make the most of it. And I mean, for example here now, in fairness, maybe it won't go through. Oh no, it goes through. I mean, it's almost too easy to get Devers and Erod away from the Red Sox for two players who are very unlikely to develop, and if they do, it's gonna take forever. So that's my one holdup. Hell, I could get Bo Bichette, which is ridiculous. So, or Michael Kopech. So, case in point there, I think what I'm gonna do is hold off. I want input from you as to whether or not there should be any limitations in terms of what I can do, because if we have free reign here and it's just, hey, make the Mariners a winner, I don't know how difficult that's going to be, mainly due to, of course, how exploitable trades are and, of course, the value of potential and everything. So this, for the most part, will just be a pretty standard starting episode. Again, we don't really have anything we have to change too much, and if we do, we'll, again, readjust as we go on. But for the most part, I mean, if we're speaking to this roster, the starting roster in general, I don't exactly expect us to be that good of a team. I think that's not exactly a hot take, is it? Don't think it is. Maybe not real world Marlins bad, but as we approach the trade deadline and everything, don't be surprised if that's the first time we really kind of pull the trigger and start to offload guys, whether it be someone like Edwin Encarnacion, just to get something back for him before the overall starts to drop. Hell, he might retire at the end of this first year. It is going to be a rebuild, more likely than not. It's just gonna have to be. So I think what we're gonna do, first and foremost, let's double check our coaching staff and everything. I don't know if we want to necessarily fire any of our coaches. I think we'll just stick to it and replace them as their contracts expire, because we're not expected to necessarily be competitive over the next few seasons. However, getting better scouts right now might not be the worst way to go, especially too considering we do not have a scout in the Central. So I'd say pretty straightforward. Jeremy McCray will absolutely be staying over Mitch Parkinson. That's not even a debate. So as far as the best scout in the Central, Brandon Brister is at least well-rounded. It's not ideal. Discovery for Hubert Norwood is terrible. Everything else is pretty damn good, though. I think we got to go with Brister. I think we got to. So Mitch Parkinson, hate to tell you, buddy, but you are on the way out. Jeremy McCray will be replaced, actually. Freddie McHugh is pretty damn good. McCray is not bad, especially with that Discovery rating. It's actually kind of a tough call. Maybe we will stay with McCray, actually. I mean, the pitching ratings are a little bit rough. Lockwood is fucking awful, but so is McKay. Is Manny Ray that decent? Okay, we're not going to have a half-decent international scout, apparently. Let's at least go with Mackey or McKay here to replace Eric Roberts. And Mr. Marquez, you're probably safe. Yeah, we'll bring in Ellis. So our scouting department isn't going to be that great, unfortunately. We'll probably handle scouting the same way I always do. Of course, normally once we get into the running here, we start a season, pretty much just jump cut to the draft, because otherwise, I mean, again, my scouting formula is basically this: pitcher righty clutch, pitcher righty clutch, pitcher righty clutch, pitcher righty clutch. In 2 days, switch it to pitcher right command, and so on and so forth. So it can be a little bit tedious to watch it. As far as the draft is concerned, though, it could be a pretty damn decent first-year draft, which is promising. I suppose the other big question here is the fact that we have some half-decent free agents available if we wanted to take advantage. As far as cash flow is concerned, we're still looking pretty good. I mean, we have some money to spend if we wanted to help this team a little bit more. The good thing is, I mean, Felix Hernandez's ridiculous contract will be up at the end of this year. I'm going to try to keep him out of loyalty. It'd be nice to win before he retires. That is extremely doubtful. But I don't know, maybe we just do what's best and let him go and he goes off to a winner. But even looking here, catchers, I mean, Omar Narvaez, he's not that bad. I don't know if we'd want to bring in Evan Gattis for a season. Probably just end up trading him. It might not be the worst idea, actually, to bring in Gattis. Narvaez here is... What are you expecting? Platoon. I mean, yeah, Evan Gattis could be signed. He could be. It wouldn't be the worst one-year signing in the world. First base, we're pretty much good to go. No reason to bring in Logan Morrison. Second base with Tetsuto Yamada. You can actually be half decent. What's his potential? B? It's not too bad, I suppose. Could be a half decent option. I'm not sure what we're going to want to do with D. Gordon beyond this season. It really depends on the direction that we decide to take with the team. Third base, of course, you would have seen Kyle Seager needs to be called up anyway, so there's really not a whole hell of a lot to do there. Shortstop, I mean, apparently there are 2 Eric Ibars, so I could back out and change that. I'm sure someone's already told them about that mistake, considering they have the same damn roster. I'm not actually too worried about it, I suppose. I might change that, but case in point with these rosters, there's nobody that we'd want to sign outside of Sanchez, who is actually relatively decent and would have half-decent trade value, I suppose. Wouldn't expect him to develop, but yeah, I think at the very least I'm going to sign him for this year. That's probably not even a debate, although we do have a full roster. But, I mean, I could get rid of, well, I wouldn't get rid of Marte. Donnie Walton we could cut if we really wanted to. And you know what? We actually might, but I'll leave it up to you guys. I don't know how we should approach the first few months of this series. Of course, if you're not aware, by the way, sim only for the most part. In the playoffs, we jump in and see what happens with the AI. We don't play games in this series. I like to leave it up to the team building, the random RNG, of course, it doesn't need to be said, just RNG. I like to leave it up to RNG. So, not that type of series. So when I say the first few months, I mean we'll be simming the first few months. It's not like, oh, this series is going until September. That's not going to happen. But, case in point, we have options. It's just how we want to choose to approach building this team. I think the next episode, once I can actually get some feedback from you guys, and as far as what you're expecting to see, of course, right now, in terms of an upload schedule, this should be an every other day deal, put up alongside the Finnish series that we have going on with NHL. So we're going to be able to get to this relatively frequently, and I think the next episode of this, again, will be technically on Friday, and we will be simming up to the first draft. We'll go through the first draft. We might even make it up towards the deadline and then decide from there what we want to do. But I want a little bit of your input as far as what to do, what approach we want to take. I don't know if we want to flat out say like, oh, goal for the season, something like that, like we've been doing in NHL. But there's no doubt about it. We kind of need this team to take a step back. It's just whether or not I truly have no handicaps in this whatsoever. And if I'm just allowed to go for it and see how quickly I can make this team into a winner, then so be it. And we'll start wheeling and dealing sooner rather than later. But if we want to take a little bit more of a slow and steady approach, that is fine as well. And we won't cheaply trade someone like Evan White. I have to know. For someone like Evan White, how valuable is he? Peterson, he's okay. He's actually not that valuable. It's when you pair him with somebody else that it takes off. Although getting Ronnie Brito, or Hani Brito, I guess it would be from the Blue Jays, that would be a steal and a half. And again, this is for a guy who is 15 overall points away from being useful at the major league level. Will he get there within 4 years? Who the hell knows? But yeah, I mean, case in point. Case in point. The rebuilding process will be going by a hell of a lot faster if we don't have any limitations. But I want to know from you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think as far as the beginning stages of this series. In the next episode, we go for it. The journey begins. Whether or not it's a bit more of a slow and steady approach, we will find out. But at the end of the day, the goal is the same: to turn the Mariners into a force. Whether or not we're able to do that, how long that takes, that remains to be seen. Let's be honest, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I'm excited for this new journey at the very least. And again, it's probably the one way I'm going to find a hell of a lot of enjoyment out of this game this year, at least until they start patching stuff. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you're excited for this series. I will see you in the next one. You know the deal. If you're excited for the series, leave a like on the video, or I'll throat punch you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I won't throat punch you, but I will kick you in the shin, or get one of my nephews to do it. Bastards.